It was a crisp autumn evening in London when I found myself standing before the wrought iron gates of Highgate Cemetery, a place that had always fascinated me. The wind whispered through the ancient trees, and the leaves rustled like the secrets of the past. Highgate Cemetery, one of London's most iconic and eeriest resting places, had been the backdrop of numerous ghost stories and urban legends, but nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to experience. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows among the tombstones, the cemetery took on an otherworldly aura. I had always been drawn to places with a dark history, and Highgate was undoubtedly one of the darkest. It was rumored to be the dwelling place of a vampire, a creature of the night who had terrorized the area for decades. The Highgate vampire, as it was dubbed by the locals, was said to have claimed countless lives and left a trail of fear and suspicion in its wake. Some dismissed the tales as mere superstition, while others were convinced of the vampire's existence. With my fascination for the supernatural and my background in paranormal research, I couldn't resist the temptation to explore the legends and stories surrounding this place. I had spent weeks researching the history of Highgate Cemetery, trying to separate fact from fiction. What I discovered was a tangled web of accounts, some from seemingly credible witnesses and others from sensationalist tabloids. It was difficult to discern the truth, but one thing was certain. Highgate Cemetery had an undeniable aura of mystery and foreboding. I had just started to doubt the legitimacy of the Highgate vampire legend when an unexpected email arrived in my inbox. The subject line read, "An invitation to witness the unexplained." The sender was an individual named Jonathan Ashcroft, who claimed to be intimately familiar with the dark secrets of Highgate Cemetery. Jonathan described himself as a local historian and paranormal enthusiast. He explained that he had uncovered a trove of documents and eyewitness accounts related to the Highgate vampire and was convinced that there was a malevolent presence lurking within the cemetery. He offered to share his findings with me and invited me to join him on a night of investigation. My curiosity overwhelmed any skepticism I had. I agreed to meet Jonathan at the gates of Highgate Cemetery at midnight. It was a chilly, moonless night when I arrived, and the air was filled with a heavy silence that seemed to echo the cemetery's unsettling history. The wrought iron gates creaked ominously as I pushed them open and ventured inside. Jonathan was waiting for me beneath a gnarled oak tree, just beyond the entrance. He was a middle-aged man with a wiry build, dressed in dark clothing that seemed to blend seamlessly with the shadows. His eyes held a deep, almost unnatural intensity, and he exuded an air of eerie knowledge. "Thank you for coming," he greeted me with a nod. "I believe we are about to uncover the truth behind the Highgate vampire." We began our exploration of the cemetery, navigating the maze of crumbling gravestones and mausoleums that rose like silent sentinels in the darkness. Jonathan shared some of the tales he had collected over the years. Stories of strange occurrences, unexplained sightings, and an inexplicable feeling of dread that had gripped those who ventured into this hallowed ground after dark. As we moved deeper into the heart of the cemetery, Jonathan led me to a particularly imposing mausoleum. Its once gleaming marble exterior was now weathered and covered in moss, and the name Harland was engraved on the entrance. Jonathan's voice dropped to a hushed whisper as he began to recount the most chilling tale associated with the Highgate vampire. The Harland Mausoleum is central to the legends surrounding the Highgate vampire, Jonathan began. In the late 1960s, rumors began to circulate that a vampire had taken up residence here. It was said to be a malevolent force that emerged from the tomb at night, seeking the blood of the living. Jonathan went on to describe how, in 1969, two young women claimed to have been attacked by a dark figure with piercing red eyes and fangs as they wandered the cemetery at night. One of them even bore the unmistakable bite marks on her neck as evidence. The story quickly gained attention in the media, and sensational headlines fueled the panic. Since then, Jonathan continued, countless individuals have come to Highgate Cemetery in search of the vampire. Some hoped to destroy it, while others believed it to be a powerful being with which they could form an unholy alliance. The mausoleum loomed before us, casting a shadow that seemed to stretch infinitely into the night. Jonathan produced a key and unlocked the heavy iron door. The creaking of the hinges sounded like the tortured wail of a banshee. We stepped inside the mausoleum, and a chill ran down my spine as I gazed upon the interior. Cobwebs clung to the walls and ceiling, and the air was heavy with the musty scent of age. An eerie stillness enveloped the space. Jonathan began to rummage through a stack of old papers and manuscripts he had brought with him. He showed me photographs of strange symbols and markings, which he believed were linked to occult practices that had taken place here. The cryptic writings seemed to tell a story of rituals and dark ceremonies performed by those who sought to harness the power of the vampire. As I examined the documents, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The darkness outside the mausoleum seemed to press in on us, and the air grew heavy with a sense of foreboding. We must be cautious. The vampire is said to be drawn to those who seek it out. We may not be alone. If the situation sank in, and I began to question the wisdom of our venture. But it was too late to turn back now. We continued our exploration of the mausoleum, uncovering more clues and artifacts that pointed to the presence of dark rituals. It was during this time that I heard a faint sound, like the soft fluttering of wings, coming from somewhere deep within the tomb. Jonathan and I exchanged nervous glances and carefully followed the source of the sound. It led us to a small, dimly lit chamber at the far end of the mausoleum, separated from the main room by a heavy iron door. As we pushed the door open, an overpowering smell of decay assailed our senses. Inside, we discovered a hidden alcove containing a stone sarcophagus. It was a chilling sight, and my heart raced as I realized that this was likely the resting place of the supposed vampire. The atmosphere in the chamber was oppressive, and the faint sound of wings grew louder. We approached the sarcophagus cautiously, our flashlights revealing strange carvings and symbols etched into its surface. Jonathan began to recite an incantation he had discovered in his research, hoping to provoke a response from the vampire. As the incantation reached its climax, the atmosphere in the chamber grew more intense. The fluttering sound became a deafening roar, and a sudden gust of icy wind swept through the room. I could feel a presence in the darkness, something ancient and malevolent. Just as we were about to take a step back, the lid of the sarcophagus slowly began to shift. It lifted a fraction of an inch, revealing a sliver of darkness within. A pair of crimson eyes, burning with an otherworldly intensity, met ours. Fear surged through me, and I instinctively stumbled backward. The vampire emerged from its tomb, a dark, shadowy figure with elongated fangs and a predatory aura. It moved with a grace and swiftness that defied the laws of nature. Its eyes locked onto us with an unrelenting hunger. Jonathan and I bolted from the chamber, the vampire in pursuit. The mausoleum seemed to stretch on endlessly, the exit perpetually out of reach. Our footsteps echoed through the narrow passageways, but the vampire's presence was an inescapable specter. Sanctity of the Harlan Mausoleum. Jonathan and I stood in the cemetery, shaken but alive. We had witnessed the Highgate vampire, and there was no longer any doubt about its existence. The legends were real, and the malevolent entity we had encountered was proof of its enduring power. Our encounter with the Highgate vampire left an indelible mark on both of us. Jonathan and I vowed to share our experience with the world, to shed light on the dark secrets of Highgate Cemetery and the malevolent force that dwelled within. As the years passed, we conducted further research and interviews, compiling a comprehensive account of the vampire's history and its impact on the surrounding community. We were able to corroborate eyewitness testimonies and document unexplained phenomena that continued to occur in the cemetery. Our findings served to both satisfy our curiosity and fuel our determination to confront the Highgate vampire once and for all. We believed that the secrets of the vampire, its origins, and the nature of its power could be unraveled, and that Highgate Cemetery could finally be freed from the shadow of fear that had gripped it for so long. Our journey continued, leading us deeper into the mysteries of the supernatural, and our encounters with the unexplained persisted. The Highgate vampire remained a dark enigma, a relentless presence that defied all attempts to fully understand or defeat it. The legend of the Highgate vampire endures, and its story lives on through the accounts of those who have dared to explore the eerie depths of Highgate Cemetery. The vampire's existence is still a subject of debate and fear, and the cemetery continues to be a place of intrigue and trepidation. For those who venture into the darkness of Highgate Cemetery, there will always be a lingering sense of the unknown, a feeling that the vampire's crimson eyes may be watching, waiting for its next encounter with the living. It is a place where the boundary between the living and the dead blurs, and the line between reality and legend fades into obscurity.